No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with...
I'm Justin Jaws DeClue.
Why did you get a nickname?
Because it's spooky season, Colin.
Shit. Is it actually...
October.
It's October.
It's October 2nd.
Shocktober.
Oh, my God.
Shocktober.
Okay, I'm April Evil Mansky.
There you go.
I wish I had thought of something.
No, it's too late.
We'll get you at the end.
Wait, I haven't
Colin Critters Cunningham.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because you love the Critters series so much. It's your second favorite after Hobgoblins
I've
of the
seen-
Gremlins ripoffs.
I've seen the first one.
First
What about
Critters?
Ghoulies?
Ghoulies?
Is that the one that comes out of the toilet?
Yep.
And it has
that's the one.
suspenders?
It is.
It looks like a skinhead.
Oh, yeah. Only in Ghoulies 3 when they go to college.
Oh,
It's Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies go to college.
That should be like a future episode. One
Ghoulies?
of the Ghoulies.
Well, the problem with Ghoulies 1 is that like he never popped out of the toilet. It was the marketing department that did it. The Ghoulies barely appear in it. So in the movie, out of random, one of the Ghoulies just pops up.
That's
just
it?
just like as an insert out of the toilet. Yep. Ooh, look, a cat is joining the podcast.
He's been pretty good. He's been sitting on my lap.
He jumped up. Okay, so we decided to watch 2 zombie movies this week.
Because we don't have enough of those
I know.
in pop culture.
There's a lot out there, but the first one we decided to step into the world of the Resident Evil movies, which, how many are there?
I have no idea.
6.
I'm
there
so
are 6
confused.
Resident Evil, and I believe like 3 CGI animated ones. Do not have the characters
God.
from the
Jeez,
these movies.
Louise. I was so confused because you said Resident Evil 2 and they're not numbered.
Mm-hmm.
So they always have like a subtitle. So I had to look up an article online.
It's the best one, Matthew.
This is what Justin told me. He's
Matthew,
like,
Colin.
Matthew,
Matthew
what?
Kumar.
I'm having flashbacks to my old podcast.
I'm
Loose
Matthew
Cannon.
Kumar. I'm from Scotland.
But yeah, Apocalypse is the second one. Preface, I've never seen any of them until we watched this
Not
one.
even the first one. The first one was a pretty big pop culture phenomenon. when
I
it
saw
came
the
out.
first one in the theater and immediately regretted it. I remember seeing it with my friend and we just hated it. It was so bad. And then we were walking out talking about how horrible it was. And then these 2 guys, and especially the music, because everything has this like thrash metal constantly.
It's a new metal that was
Yeah.
coming out around that time.
But it's like,
Yeah.
this scene sucks. So let's just play some new metal and like, add some excitement. And then these 2 kids behind us were like, oh man, that was awesome. The music especially.
it's probably Paul W.S. Anderson who was seeing the movie.
Yeah, no, I was into new metal at the time, and this movie had some new metal in it too.
Yeah.
The last song, the credit song is Slipknot, and I know who that is.
Who are your favorite new metal bands, April? Top 5.
Korn,
Mudhoney?
Disturbed,
Creed?
I don't know if you could call those are not
With
new. Those are
arms
not
wide
new. That's not new
open.
metal.
Oh, doesn't he thrash at the
That's-
guitar?
that's
What
like-
about Stained? Is
I
that-
like Stained.
P.O.D..
Well, Marilyn Manson, but that's not. I mean, he kind of went into the new metal world.
He was an
Anyone,
imposter.
if anyone who wants to get into new metal, just listen to the Queen of the Damned soundtrack.
Nobody wants to get into new metal.
You know, it's like the music genre that people are ashamed of.
Yeah.
Do you ever put it on when like Colin's out of the apartment?
I've been playing
She
Marilyn
does. Actually,
Manson
I came home the other day
lately.
and she was listening to Marilyn Manson.
My shame.
No,
I went back and I listened to a bunch of his albums, and I still know a whole bunch of the lyrics.
she was blasting it in the living room, and I came in. I'm like, this is April's Had a Bad Day music, isn't it?
It was great.
The only Marilyn Manson songs I know are covers.
He does do a lot of covers,
beautiful. No,
but
wait, not beautiful. People.
Not Beautiful People.
I'm thinking
Sweet
of
Dreams.
Sweet
Dreams.
Dreams.
Yeah, that's the one. That was on every trailer forever.
yeah.
So Resident Evil 2.
Back to this.
I saw Resident Evil, the first one. I remember seeing like a cam version my friend gave me because I was too young to see it in theaters.
You don't go into a store and take a candy bar and not pay for it.
When Chinatown stores would have just like cam bootlegs of like mainstream Hollywood films.
They would just have them on the street.
Yeah,
like a big
yeah.
table full of them.
And I remember watching it and being like, this is boring.
Yeah, it's really
like,
bad.
This is so boring.
Such a bad movie.
It is a movie that I have sworn that I will never watch again in my life because I have
Yeah.
given it 2 or 3 shots because I have friends who are like, it's great. It's a great movie. You just don't get it. And I watch it and it is objectively bad.
I love how you've already given it 2 or 3
Yes.
shots, and you're like, never again.
No, but this is like a firm, like I have that Blu-ray, I'm going to break it over my leg because it came in the set with all of them.
Oh my god.
Got the box set.
Yeah, I mean, Resident Evil number 1, nothing happens for I think an hour.
Oh, it's so bad.
All the characters are killed instantly. Any of the interesting characters.
yeah.
And then when the second one came out, I was like, well, there's not many zombie movies coming out right now. I don't think, had Dawn of the Dead come out by that point? The remake.
I want to say yes, because this movie has very scenes that reminded me of that.
So I was like, all right, I'll give the second one a shot. And I'm like, wow, well, this may be one of the greatest films ever made. Resident Evil Apocalypse.
I think I messaged you after April and I watched this. Of like, so this is the best one?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I'll get into it, but what's the plot, April?
Well, it starts
such a tricky
I'm
question.
guessing at the end, the end of the last movie. Where
Technically not.
No, okay, so I haven't
we'll get
seen
into
it.
that. Because the end of the last one, all the Resident Evil films start with like a promise of like, now the cool shit starts.
Yeah, because she escapes from the lab and then it like cranes up.
And that was in the trailer. That was like a big part of the
that's right.
trailer. So everyone, I think it may have been the teaser. So it's like,
But this
fuck you.
movie ends like that too, where it's like you're almost getting 10 minutes of the next movie.
Oh yeah,
kind
this
of.
movie has a shitty last 10 minutes.
Which is weird. But anyway, like, long story short, there's a virus, and it
T-virus.
it causes people to turn into zombies, and it gets out, and all of the city called Raccoon City
Toronto.
is affected.
Toronto.
Which is Raccoon
Toronto.
City in real life, funnily enough.
Yeah, there's lots of raccoons in
But
Toronto.
then Colin told me that's actually from the game. So Raccoon City
That's about the only thing I know about the game.
Yeah. So there's like this military team. What are they called? The Stars?
Yeah, the stars.
Oh,
yeah,
that's it. I was just guessing.
I mean, I've never played the games either. They were too spooky for me.
No, I never
and
got into
I didn't
them.
have any disposable income to buy them. I wasn't one of those kids that, like, April probably knew them, who their parents would get them, like, everything they ever wanted. You go to their house and they'd be like, I got all the PlayStation 2 games.
Oh, you're talking about assholes.
Oh, rich kids. Yeah.
I had a friend who had every horror movie ever made. He's like, I got all the aliens, I got all the critters, I got all the leprechauns. Leprechauns was like really big for him, and
So
I was
weird.
so
Was he
jealous.
Irish?
You cracked the code.
Oh my god. For some reason, these just appeal to me.
So I always wanted to play these games, never did. I rented the second one, and if anybody has played the second one for a second, you get killed right at the beginning if you don't know how to run away. And I was like, I didn't know what to do, so I just kept being killed at the beginning.
Very
And I was like,
frustrated.
screw this game.
Sounds boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, these movies, okay. I don't know. I've never got these movies.
Well,
like I don't.
these movies have nothing to do with the game
Yeah,
either.
it's like I don't understand them. I don't know what's going on. I
Who
don't
are
know
they
who.
for?
I don't know.
People see these. These movies make money. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. to
So,
me.
like, the first Resident Evil game is about, like, two, I think, police officers or STARS officer go into, like, a big haunted mansion, and there's weird stuff going on. They find zombies, and then they find a base underneath.
Right.
That's what the plot of the game is.
Right.
And the first one introduces, like, a whole bunch of weird characters. It takes place all under the base.
in the hive.
Yeah, the hive
it's
or
like
whatever.
some laboratory.
What's funny about Mila Jovovich is she has actually never been featured in any games. That is
Really?
insane.
Her character
yeah. Her
isn't
character, no,
a
Alice.
character.
I just like
I see.
every movie. I don't know. I sort of saw the Red Letter Media recap, which is kind of how I know. Which is amazing. Everybody should watch it. It's really funny.
They kind of go through the whole series. And
They
just
watched them
say,
all
like,
in one sitting.
Oh,
Which
I
is-
did too.
And
With
they-
me and my friends.
They just went insane
Mercy.
at the end. It was so funny.
Well, they make no sense.
they don't make any sense, and they
Yeah.
seem to change the plot in each new movie.
Anything they set up at the end of a film, they just like destroy instantly. So like
Yes.
at the end of the third one, it's like Mila Jovovich has like 30 clones, and she also has psychic powers for some reason. And then boop, they kill all those clones at the beginning of the fourth one. She loses her psychic powers.
yeah, she had psychic powers in this one. I think at the end.
I think she's like attached to the STARS network. I don't know.
I don't
so
know.
the movie starts, zombie outbreak. Oh man, what's going on? We're introduced to our Robert Altman like cast of characters. We have, I think, Jill Valentine.
Oh, that's right.
Who's like
Tomb Raider.
Yeah, Tomb Raider, who's like a detective in a tube top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looks her outfit is exactly Tomb Raider, except Tomb Raider's wearing shorts.
She's a game character.
yeah. That's okay. I know the name.
And she looks exactly like, and she's introduced in an awesome scene where she just bursts into a police station and just kills a bunch of people.
starts shooting zombies.
Yeah.
Dude shooting zombies.
Her partner is another character.
Her partner. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't remember
I
what
don't
his
remember
name is.
his name.
Yeah, that guy.
He was a character.
Yeah, he was. He's like, oh, I'm just waiting for him to die. When's he going to die?
Yeah.
And then we also have
Jared Harris.
Jared Harris. Yeah, as like you think he's the villain, but he's not the villain.
Yeah, he's in the wheelchair, and I think the whole story revolves around his daughter is trapped. She doesn't make it out of the evacuation
Yes.
of Raccoon City.
She was the Red Queen in the first one.
Oh, is that her? The
Yeah,
actress?
I think that's who it's supposed to be based on in the movie universe.
I
Yes.
see. Okay.
Jared Harris, he has a Canadian passport, right?
Is he really?
He must, because he's in so many Canadian films. And usually
didn't
when you
know.
see an actor in that many films, you're like, oh, he counts for points for those tax breaks.
I have no idea because I only know him from Mad Men. I think most people would. And
Yeah.
like The Terror and then Chernobyl.
he was in so many like
so many things.
mid-level horror like this. He was in the John Carpenter film, which I believe shot in Vancouver as well, which
one?
makes me think The Ward.
Oh, Jesus.
He had a big role in The Ward.
Wow.
And so we have those characters. We also have Mila Jovovich. We have a wisecracking, I guess, pimp.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
African American gentleman.
Yes,
who is
that's
the
right.
only levity in the movie, and he just says one-liners.
That's not true. The whole film is filled with laughs. And we also have
Intentional comedy.
the
Intrepid-
mummy himself. Because wait, is it? No, it's not Arnold. No,
No, it's not Arnold Bosley.
No, it's the guy. He's in the Mummy, and he plays the guy that's protecting the mummy. You remember? He appears in the first and second ones, and he like sacrifices himself when he goes into the pit at the end.
I can't remember.
I don't remember what his name
I can't
is. But
remember.
it's that guy.
And then
Let's
we've
just
got-
call him a handsome SWAT dude.
And then we've got Intrepid Reporter.
yeah, she dies pretty fast.
Yeah, so funny story about her.
She's a Canadian actress. Her name is Sandrine Holt, and she's in House of Cards. She was in Black Robe.
I've actually seen her in 2 movies, Black Robe and Century Hotel, 2 of the most Canadian movies
Black
ever made.
Robe. Were you forced to see that in class?
That's
no,
right.
it's like Canadian
Exactly.
requirement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to high school, and she was in a sister school. So I was like an all boys high school, and a couple of my friends dated her. Her name is Sandrine Ho, and then when she went into acting, she changed her name to Holt. I guess it was like less Asian.
So you never
sounding.
actually met her.
I might have at some point, but I don't remember her.
A couple of his friends dated her, not just one.
I know, it's very strange.
So all these characters, like a Robert Altman film, they all kind of meet, and Mila
Yeah.
Jovovich, who's only introduced like 15 minutes into the movie.
Kind of, yeah.
And what is their plan? They just have to get out of the city.
I think they have to get the daughter.
yeah,
So,
that's right.
Jared Harris refuses to be evacuated with the Umbrella Corporation honchos. He's like, I'm not leaving without my daughter.
Okay, so before I start talking about how amazing this movie is, I'm gonna just we never do this, but to give myself a position of strength, I have to say all the lamest shit in this movie. It is so cheap looking, and it is ugly. It's like one color.
Yeah, it's gross. It's like just blue and black. And this is the most Toronto-looking movie
Oh, well, that's
you've ever
great.
seen.
That's a positive.
It's
not
like
a negative.
It's like it just looks Canadian. At one scene takes place in a TTC streetcar.
That's right.
The finale takes place in front of Toronto City Hall, which
Yeah.
you would recognize from Next Generation.
The trailer seems to indicate that it explodes as
Yeah.
Mila Jovovich runs down, and that does not happen in the movie. Very
Yeah.
disappointing.
yeah.
And then it is also like the sound is bad, like the new metal, like all the punches and whooshes. It's like
Yeah.
people who have never done it before.
You see a lot of pizzas.
You do see a lot of
It's the
people.
same one.
It's the same pizza, but it takes place. You see it in like different times in the movie.
All right, that's the only things that are bad in this movie. The cat attacked me.
No, it did not. It jumped up on the table.
But also the Canadianness is like what we were talking about with Jason X. I feel like it looked better than Jason X.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
like
and
it
sounded
did.
better. And
Yeah.
I'd take the new metal over Jason
It
X's
didn't
score.
feel like a television show or like a TV movie. It felt like a real movie, but it does have a cheapness to it for sure.
So to say what I love about this movie, I have to explain that I think Paul W.S. Anderson is one of the most boring directors.
He's awful.
He's so boring.
Technically, he didn't direct this.
No, but that's why I'm getting to why this is good. Because
Yeah.
this is a Paul W.S. Anderson script. So it was actually directed by Alexander de Hewitt, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
And he was a second unit director, and he worked on everything. He worked on Avengers Infinity War, he worked on all the Fast and Furious movies. And it's like you gave a movie to a second unit director, and he's like, this is all action scenes, right?
Yeah.
This is all, that's all the movie is. So it's all killer, no filler.
Yeah.
Which you will either find very boring or amazing like I do.
Well, Paul W.S. Anderson. Let's talk about him for a second.
He did Mortal Kombat.
His movies. He's one of those directors where he doesn't seem to get better.
No.
He's consistently awful.
In different
like,
ways.
Bad in different... He seems to maybe get worse sometimes. But all of his movies are just... He just rips off scenes from other movies,
shamelessly.
And just like cobbles them together, and they're just fucking garbage. Like he's a garbage director.
Supposedly, someone who said that they read the Resident Evil Apocalypse script, and this is how Paul W. Sanderson writes. It's like, and then Mila Jovovich bursts through the church window on a motorcycle, and the audience jump to their feet and cheer.
It shows. It shows in the movie.
About how
so
much
bad.
crazy bullshit is all stuffed into like one film. Like the movie gets going almost instantly. Like it's everyone's.
I think so,
invested
yeah.
right away, and then you just follow all of these characters as they wander around Toronto, shooting zombies,
bad.
jumping out of helicopters with 2 guns in their hands.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Zombies.
Because he probably saw that in a movie somewhere.
Yeah, guaranteed.
There was
Bad
like,
Boys too.
I think I worked on one of these movies, and I don't know. I think it was the 3D one.
That's part 4, the one that they're in a prison for a while.
I think so. I don't know.
Prison Planet?
I just sort of,
Is it
no.
of Lockout.
I just remember submarines, and I worked on a shot.
No,
where there
okay,
was
that's
some-
part 5.
Was that in 3D as well?
That's also in 3D, yeah. Part 5 is like someone got hit on the head, and there's like 10 ideas. Like they're in Japan, they do a ripoff of Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder version.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then they're like fighting on ice at the end. But
Right,
that's part
right.
5. That's one that like I watch and I'm like, I don't know who this is for.
Yeah.
This is, what is this?
Well, it was like as soon as he got his hands on 3D, and I remember all the trailers and commercials were coming out for the first 3D one. It was like in 3D, and like every single goddamn shot was slow mo, and something was flying at camera,
Which
because
is
he's-
great, but you know,
Is it?
Well, when it's in slow motion, when Paul W. Sanderson shoots it, it's so boring,
So terrible.
So yeah, the thing that I love about this movie is that it's nonstop. It's an hour and I think 40 minutes.
Not even. I think
Not
it's
even.
like 130, 133.
Back when action movies used to be nice
shave,
and tight.
shave like three minutes off.
3 minutes. Yeah, the ending, which is a setup to a sequel that never really happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I love about this movie. And I mean, Nemesis. Can we talk about Nemesis? This big, giant plastic.
Is that what he was called?
Yeah, his name is Nemesis. He's from the 3rd game.
So basically, this was Mila Jovovich's friend from the first movie.
Yes, who
and they
like
kinda
started
have-
to mutate because I think he got bit.
You don't find that out until the end. It's a big reveal.
Yeah, they take him away, and then they go, put him into the Nemesis program.
That's right.
And then
oh no, he's like a big
An orc. He
Yeah,
looks
he's
like an
essentially a big
orc.
orc.
he's just like a big stunt man. And what does he have? He has like a gun attached to his
It's
hand?
a
or-
rocket launcher, right?
He has like a Gatling gun because like
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
because they do the scene from Aliens where it's like running out of bullets.
Yeah,
as he's
yeah.
firing.
And then his POV, he's got like some robotics because the Umbrella Corporation can control him.
Yeah, or
And-
can they?
Or, yeah.
Because the power of love is more
didn't-
powerful than
yeah.
any force.
They didn't count on feelings.
They didn't even count on him having a boner for Mila Jovovich.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
Alice.
One that causes him to come to tears. To come to tears. That's how, when you're Nemesis, that's how you feel pleasure. It's not tears
crying.
of sadness.
Oh.
So what was your favorite part, Colin?
Let me see. You know, I wrote. This is the only thing I remember from the first movie, and I kind of perked up when they came on screen. It's the spaghetti dogs, and I call them.
I've never heard them called the spaghetti dog.
I call them the spaghetti dogs because they're supposed to be zombie dogs, basically. But you know, obviously, they can't put a lot of prosthetics on dogs. You know, the animal, the
They
Humane
would just
Society.
try and eat it, right?
Yeah, or you know, I don't think
It can
you're
hurt
allowed
them,
to.
yeah.
You know, so they're very limited in what they can do. So they, it looks like they just threw a bowl of spaghetti on the dogs with sauce, and it's like just called them zombie dogs.
They're very CG too.
Well, they what they've done is they've patched them up. So when they cut into the close-ups, they've done some like CG patchwork to make it look like their skin is rotting, and it looks really, really bad.
It looked too shiny.
Well, there was no motion blur, and it looked badly
Yeah.
tracked onto their faces. But all the wides are just dogs with spaghetti thrown onto them. So I called them spaghetti dogs.
But what about the lickers? Those big giant
that's
monstrous
like-
tongues. Those are seamlessly integrated into the movie.
My friends actually did those.
Did they?
Yeah.
The total ripoff of Lickitung, the Pokemon. Come on.
It's like
wait,
The
is he-
listeners know who I'm talking about.
Was he part of the first 151 wave?
Yes, yes.
Oh, wow, I don't even know him.
It's a big pink dinosaur with a big tongue.
Oh, okay. Shame on me. So what was your favorite part, April?
Well, I actually liked the storyline with the little girl. I thought it was like, I don't know if this is from the game, but I thought it was a kind of neat backstory that you find out that the British guy, what's his name?
Jared Harris.
Jared Harris. He was trying.
Son of Richard Harris.
He made the T virus because he was trying to make his daughter walk again because she was, I guess, paralyzed. And then it works, but then it turns into a virus that animates the dead because it like repaired her dead cells. Neat idea.
Yeah, all those people died just so she could walk again.
Yeah, but
it was
I
worth
mean,
it.
you know, I could see that happening.
What's funny because he was in a wheelchair though,
Yeah, he was.
so why do?
I don't know if like that was an experiment gone awry or he was just also in a wheelchair.
I mean, we'll have to get the novelization to find out.
by
Alan
Dean
Dean Foster.
Foster. I was just gonna say.
So this is a tough movie that, like, you know, people need to see it because I could just go through all my favorite scenes. That chase that goes through, like, the entire city, crashing through, like, you know, all the recognizable Toronto locations.
Oh, there's so many. It's so
They
funny.
go like to the same bridge a couple times. Which
Yeah,
is
the bridge in the
they do.
Danforth.
near
that's
where
right.
I used
Yeah.
to live. I'm like, hey.
That is the Danforth Bridge. That's where
Yeah,
they do
yeah.
the, what is it, Escape from New York thing, like the walls that people can't get through.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the kind of...
That's what he ripped off.
Yeah, exactly.
That was referencing that.
Of course.
And I've said this before to people. My favorite scene is when Mila
Yeah.
Jovovich, she is held at gunpoint by baddies, and they're like, "Drop the gun!" Why wouldn't they just shoot her? She is like such a threat.
It's so
They
stupid.
need her, I
She
guess.
drops the gun, but then she's so fast that she picks the gun up before it hits the ground and fires. On the commentary, Mila Jovovich is like, "Yeah, I did that for real. I trained real hard to be able to do that."
It was in
Come
slow
on.
motion.
I think he's being sarcastic.
Oh, it's so bad.
But also, like, that's like Game of Thrones ripped that off.
Yeah, that's right. Game of Thrones ripped that off.
They ripped off Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah, they're like, we saw Resident Evil Apocalypse. What can
Yeah.
we take from this?
Arya
it's
does the
such
same
a
thing.
non-moment. Like, you know what I mean? It's not impressive. And you're just like, what?
But you feel like the filmmakers are like, this is cool.
is so cool.
It cuts to her like on the ground, not moving. You're like, these shots don't link up. What's
No.
going on?
No, it's one of those things where, yeah, they think it's much cooler than it is. And then your takeaway is just like, what?
Well, the issue that I have with Alice, and I don't know if this continues in the other movies, is that she's too good. It's like she's just genetically perfect and better than everyone, and she can seemingly do anything. And she can like jump high up in the air. The orca guy can do that too. And it's like, she's too perfect. So it's just like, you know what? There's no like stakes. She can do everything. She can heal as well. You know?
I hate to break it to you. Mila Jovovich is Paul W.S. Anderson's wife.
Yeah, I know.
So
Right. So were they married during this movie?
I don't know.
Later, did they?
Maybe
fall
a
in
little bit
love?
later. Yeah, they fell in love on the set. And then, they kept making these movies, which are crazier and crazier as they go along. What's notable about the sixth one, which is the final chapter,
Is
that
it though?
he hired the editor of Crank movies, so it's like edited within an inch of its life, cuts lasting less than half. It's like a different flavor of bad.
Yeah,
So
that
awful.
doesn't sound good.
Yeah,
Like
I think the editor's name is like Notch or something like. It's some crazy one name thing.
one word, notch.
It's funny. I guess all these movies are made in Toronto. I think all of his fucking...
No, not the sixth one. The sixth one
Really?
was shot in South Africa because you didn't hear what happened, right? Someone died and someone like lost an arm or a leg.
Oh,
shooting
it was the stunt woman that
Well,
crashed
two
the...
different people. One person died and the stunt woman got injured.
Oh, not just injured.
Yeah, she had limbs amputated.
Yeah,
Oh my
she was like
God.
destroyed, and I think her face was degloved. And do not look up degloving online.
Yeah.
It is horrific. But for this movie, for a fucking
Final
Resident
chapter.
Evil, and that's
But,
all
like,
I could
the
think
fact
of.
that there was like multiple injuries on the
Oh
sets.
my god.
That's awful.
The worst. Well-
I mean, yeah, no unions in South Africa.
There's a VFX company in town. I won't say their name, but they work on all of his movies.
Yeah, they've
all
done
of his
all of
movies
them.
to the point where I think the owner actually went to their wedding.
So yeah, I guess we're big Paul W. Anderson fans here. Wait, Mortal Kombat, right?
Yeah.
April, one of your favorite movies of all time.
I think that is a great movie. Yes, it's a bad movie, but really, it's good.
Ooh, coming soon to this podcast.
I saw it twice in the theater.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation as well.
Yeah, at
Yeah,
the time,
that one is
at the
bad.
time, I remember thinking it was entertaining, and then in retrospect, it's horrific. And
I like Three Musketeers.
Event Horizon, that was one of those
So
ones.
boring.
Wait, So I remember liking this, and this is the one that everybody talks about, like, oh, it's his best movie and blah, 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 blah. So we rewatched it, I think, last year, April, for Halloween.
I think we talked about it before. It was a big letdown, and it was like loud
It's
and
so terrible.
I think it was also full of like bad rock music.
That's one of those movies that I think people just remember it differently, and when you rewatch it, you realize how horribly it's dated, and it just
You were
doesn't age
charmed
very
by
well.
Sam Neill.
I think, how can you not be? Come
know.
on,
I
that
did the same thing with
Kiwi accent.
I did the same thing with Emily. I was like, "Oh yeah, scary movie. Let's watch Event Horizon." And just sitting there being like, "Oh, this is so lame."
Yeah.
I could have watched
Scary movie.
Yeah, Scary Movie, the classic Wayans Brothers. I'm more of a Scary Movie 3 man myself.
Oh,
it's all
yeah,
the
yeah.
8 Mile parodies and stuff like that.
What was the one where the Zuckers came in? Or
That's Scary Movie 3. Yeah,
okay,
that's a good
3.
one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like the $1 Million Baby
Oh,
scene.
that's Scary Movie 4 or 5, I believe.
That was really funny.
Yeah, that is actually a very funny scene from that movie.
Get you, Peanut.
Smashing movie 4 playing nearby.
Siri has,
Siri was
has chimed
listening
in.
to us.
She's got
Yep.
something to say. Siri,
Which Scary Movie is your favorite?
what was your favorite scene, Siri?
So
I like the part where she goes into the church
Yeah.
on the motorcycle. That's like Mila's introduction, I think, to the other characters.
Yeah.
Yep, she
just-
crashes on the motorcycle.
She
So she-
knows they're in there.
She crashes into the church through a stained glass window on a motorcycle, which hits the altar and then catches the liquor.
No, I think that the motorcycle hits and it like skids out from under her, and then it hits a liquor, which causes it to go straight up into the air.
Makes no sense.
Which she then shoots with a bullet, which goes to Matrix vision.
Yeah.
And then it explodes, and then she turns around and I think walks away in slow motion.
Yeah.
I think what happened is the motorcycle went through the window and then the lickers are jumping at it because they see her, but then she's so fast she jumps off and they go through the window and she shoots it and it explodes. Slight difference.
We'll never
Okay.
know. 'Cause
Yeah. So
if only there
fast.
was some evidence that we could see what actually happens in that scene.
If only going to church was really that exciting.
Ooh, sounds dangerous, just the way I like it. So we didn't really watch a bad movie for the second one.
No, I was just thinking, like, what stretch of the imagination would this be considered a bad movie?
No, I
Dead
mean,
Alive?
to maybe you show to like your mom or something like that.
I think even my mom would be entertained.
Your
but,
mom, yeah.
Like,
It's pretty cool.
it is like a B movie. And you could say that like it's a lower budget movie, but what was the budget of this movie?
It was
'Cause-
pretty high.
$3 million.
Yeah, I think 3. It was a couple million.
And when was this made?
1992.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a lot for 92. And like there's so many prosthetics in it that it's like they clearly had like a lot of
We should probably say the name of the
resources.
movie.
I did. I said Dead Alive.
Really?
Or
Yep.
sometimes called Brain Damage.
Well, its actual name is Brain Dead.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it's
Brain
only
Dead,
in North
yeah.
America that it's known as Dead Alive.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want, I guess, North Americans to be confused with the Bill Paxton, Bill Pullman classic Brain Dead, directed by
Oh, yeah.
Adam
Okay.
Simon.
Okay.
There's also Brain Damage.
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't seen that yet. I caught some of it on TV at a bar once.
Wait, are you talking about? Is that the Frank Hellenlotter?
Yeah, it
one?
is.
Yeah.
I think we rented it, but then we never watched it. But different movie.
Yeah, this was my first Peter Jackson movie. This is my
Me
intro
too.
to him, and this I think I got it around 95 or 96 or something like that. I got talking to my friend at work one day, and he was like, "Oh, you got to see Evil or Dead Alive," and he's like, "Make sure you get the unrated cut."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay," so I like hunted for it online and got it.
There was a panther on the cover that I had, like because it
Really?
said like R, like an X, the X-rated panther. I have never seen anything before then or since. I had to lie about my age to rent it at the Rogers Video.
Nice.
Oh, it's hilarious. This movie is so good. It's so clever. And Peter Jackson, he was good.
Yeah, he was good.
He was really, really good. This was like before Heavenly Creatures when he went legit.
I'm guessing
Yep.
maybe that was my first Peter Jackson because I'm almost positive I saw that before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I hadn't seen I think it was only this one. I hadn't even seen like Meet the Feebles or anything. And
Or
then
Bad Taste.
yeah, and when he was announced as the director for Lord of the Rings, I was like, "What? Like
Yeah.
that's insane."
Frighteners too. I saw a little bit of Frighteners.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah, okay, I
I
saw
found
the
it too
Frighteners.
scary.
Yeah, you found it too frightening.
Yeah. I watched like a little bit of it, and then I went upstairs.
That was a TBS staple, The Frighteners. It played
Yeah.
all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember that. What's this movie about?
Well, so Dead Alive is about a young man named Lionel who lives with his mother. You may call him a mommy's boy, if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
will.
He's got a Norman Bates thing going on, like
Yep.
in look and lifestyle.
Yeah, I didn't like the similar like oppressive mother, keeping him in line.
But then when the local grocery clerk, whose name is Paquita, thinks that they are destined to be together, his mom gets jealous, and somehow she gets bitten by
Monkey.
a Sumerian rat monkey.
I think it's a
Yeah.
Sumatran
Oh,
rat
they're gonna
monkey.
Take away my Gore card for not getting that right.
So this is like the opening scene takes, and like people, Lord of the Rings fans would probably remember this. I think it's in the third movie. It's like the Paths of the Dead, where they Legolas and those guys go through the kind of rock,
Aragorn.
very distinctive rock
Paths.
formations.
There's a bit of a pre-setup describing where those monkeys came from.
Yeah, it's like some guy from the Wellington Zoo
Yeah.
has captured this rat monkey, and he's taken back, trying to take it back to the zoo in Wellington. He's killed by
He gets scratched by the rat monkey, and then the local guides chop off his hand, his arm, and then his head.
Yeah.
And the blood splatters onto the screen to form the title Dead Alive.
and then they just send the crate on to Wellington anyway. They
Yeah.
load it onto a plane and get paid for it. And I was thinking it was kind of like Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Yeah.
With
Poison snake?
the
It's a
cancerous
hard ticket.
Cancer-infested snake. It's just kind of the same setup.
Yeah.
And then right from the get-go, we get a lot of awesome miniatures.
Oh my God, they're so good. I didn't know this until years later, but I guess it's like a period piece. I don't know when it's supposed to take place.
I
Probably
think
the 50s.
or the 60s.
It has that
yeah.
kind of vibe. Yeah, there's greasers turn up.
There's like a doo-wop thing going on.
Yeah, it's like the
That party.
rockabilly party
Yeah.
at the house and stuff like that.
But right from the beginning, and Colin actually pointed out some miniature shots that I didn't even notice because they're like forced perspective shots.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they'd have the miniature in front of the camera and like you're shooting it.
We should point out, when we say miniature, people are like, oh, like goblins or castles?
No.
they're just like streetcars.
Just establishing shots.
Yeah,
of
I
the
guess it was like a
town.
period Wellington. So they have these old timey trolleys and like the storefronts and stuff like that. It's really, really clever, and I really didn't pick up on it the first couple of times.
Very clever way of like I'm guessing saving budget, like because maybe it's not, we can't just shoot like
Well,
randomly or
I think that Peter Jackson just like loves this shit. So like the
Oh, yeah.
opportunity to do something like this, he's like,
Yeah.
all right, how can we figure it out? Because he could have just done it without those establishing shots.
Yeah, you could do
but-
like a
True.
matte painting or something,
Yeah.
but he had like moving cameras and some really clever things where they're shooting. I don't know if it's Lionel's in the car, and then they kind of just pan the camera up from inside the car, and you
Oh,
see the trolley go
yeah.
by, and it whips down, and there's like a kind of hidden cut in there. Really, really clever camera tricks and edits.
I mean, this is a movie, I think people could consider it bad, and you shouldn't be these people's friends, if they look at the special effects and are like, they're so cheap looking and fake. You can tell that that's a stop motion rat creature
Oh,
in the
man,
cage.
that was so
it's
funny.
like one of the best things in the movie. And then stop motion didn't really come back,
No.
did it?
No, it's actually funny because the in the credits, the stop motion's credited to Peter Jackson and Richard Taylor. So Richard Taylor, you probably know from all the Lord of the Rings making ofs. He was
Do his voice, Colin. I know you
I'm
want
Richard Taylor.
Yep, there you go.
When I was working with Peter on Lord of the Rings, he's the head of Weta Workshop, which did all the makeup and prosthetics and like swords and all that.
Do you
sort of
think he
stuff.
like sits in front of like a Maya rendering farm now and he's like, oh, I hate my life. I wish I could go back to
Yeah.
Dead Alive.
Oh, that would be so fun.
And so back to the story. Lionel's mother gets attacked by the rat monkey, and she starts to get a little bit sick.
Yeah,
She's like patient zero of kind of like the T virus in the previous.
I'd forgotten it, and we have to note that we were eating like mac and cheese when we were watching this
Rich
movie.
and creamy, just
I-
the way I like it.
I was
I don't know what accent that is.
I
but
wanted to vomit during this scene. It's so. I remember it today, and I just went.
for people that don't know, we won't spoil it for people, but it's just like
Yeah, there's so much in this movie that you should really just experience.
Don't eat creamy things while watching
no,
it.
don't eat anything while watching
Yeah,
this movie.
this movie is so disgusting.
So Lionel's his mom starts decomposing. He tries his best to keep her together, but it doesn't really work. Finally, people realize she's dead, and he tries to keep her calm by injecting like tranquilizers.
Yeah, like
Oh, is that what he was doing?
yeah. He goes to like this Nazi vet and gets like a big bottle of tranquilizer, and then he's like constantly like injecting her to
That
sedate
you can
her.
only inject zombies in the eye or up the nose. Those are the two ways you can inject them.
Goes to the brain, I
Yeah.
guess.
And then what happens? Yeah, other people get infected.
Yeah,
and
His mom pops out of the grave. She kills a bunch of greasers, and the priest shows up. And then
He gets infected, and it just snowballs.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it ends in just like the greatest house party massacre you've ever seen.
made.
It's so great. This is one of the goriest movies.
it's I mean, when people are like, "Well, I think this is gory," I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But after a while, like, you get desensitized to it, but it doesn't stop being like shocking and like funny.
Yeah.
But it's like it still has the same impact, but it's not like it's a more is more type of
Well,
movie.
we should
Yeah.
point out we watched this movie because April had never seen it.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
that's why I was like, well, we gotta watch Dead Alive.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Well, every gore gag is like so creative and fun and
Yeah.
energetic. If it was the
Just-
same
yeah.
thing over and over again, it would get boring. Like,
Yeah.
even heads explode. Because I recently watched a German splatter film, and I was like, just heads exploding over and over again.
yeah, but this
Yeah.
one I think is it never stops being surprising and clever and tricky, and it's one of those movies where he really uses every trick in the book as far as like how to
Yeah.
hide these cuts, and you know what I mean. It's just like
So many white cuts. Like somebody will be like, "Ooh," like covering her mouth, and then a hand punches through it, and her hand waving past the camera is the cut point to cut to the dummy as the fist
Yeah.
goes right through her mouth.
Or you'll see like
so
a lot
good.
of people like walk by camera out of focus and kind of wipe frame, and it'll transition to like a puppet, and you know it's it's so
that
funny.
guy screaming, he's like, "Oh!" and he gets like the skin pulled off his head to reveal like a screaming skeleton.
A lot of them are so clever. Like I wasn't even like noticing the cuts. Like
Yeah.
it was just so seamless.
It's just really well done and inventive and like funny. And at
Yeah.
one point, the main character is being chased by like a reanimated heart and lungs and intestine.
intestines.
There's like an asshole that farts and everything.
Of course.
So my favorite part of this movie is definitely the scene where Lionel is surrounded by zombies. It's probably the most horrifying zombie scene. He's like in the middle of his living room and he's looking around and he sees like them all chowing down and like brains and guts. And then he starts to run, but there's so much blood on the ground that he starts like running in place.
That was funny.
And it goes
That was
on
really
for so
funny.
long.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's the perfect like tone scene if you want to let people know like what kind of movie it is. It's
Yeah.
like, oh no, it's comedic. It's like that scene. And then
Yeah.
when he does start to like run on body parts, he like lands on the guy whose legs are all cut off. He's like, "Arr!"
It's like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it is. Splat stick.
Yeah, it's always like one upping itself. It's just really funny. It's like, you know, he's obviously inspired by Evil Dead and like Sam Raimi. Really interesting like camera work, and it's like constantly moving, and there's like this energy to the movie.
The thing about Peter Jackson that like I love is that he's like way sloppier than Sam Raimi is. Sam Raimi was all about like precision. Like I got to get this on a crane. I have to get this on
Yeah.
like a dolly. It has to be perfect. Well, Peter Jackson is more of a guy that's like, oh, let's just do it handheld and we'll move around and we'll do all these cameras and these Dutch
Yeah.
angles into people. And that's what it's easier to recreate. So that's what I would do when I would have to make movies and stuff like that as well. So what was your
Yeah.
favorite part, April?
Well, there is a scene with a baby that was pretty good. So, a long story short, there's a zombie baby. There's a gestation involved, and then, so I don't even know why, but he took it to the park in a pram.
So I could tell you why the scene exists because they shot the movie and they were under budget. And so they're like,
Oh,
I
really?
want to shoot this scene because I think it'll be funnier. And so they went out and they did the scene where the zombie baby goes to the park and slapstick ensues.
Yeah, It's
Yeah.
really funny. And
Baby's
it's
like attacking him, and he's like punching it and stepping it on it, and like it's a lot funnier than I'm probably
all
describing.
these families are kind of looking on horrified,
Yeah.
and April's like, people would, say something. And I'm like, well, it was the 50s.
It was the 50s.
And it was Wellington,
It
New
was
Zealand.
really
Punching
funny.
the baby like full on.
Yeah, like
Hyperactive.
for no reason whatsoever. Yeah, it just cuts, and he's already got a pram, and he's taking
Yeah.
it through the walk.
And he's like stumbling, like, and the pram is like falling down the hill.
So good.
Like,
good.
what's that movie? Battleship Potemkin. It was like that.
I'm sure Peter Jackson was like, this is my Battleship Potemkin. Oh, I
Yeah,
thought you meant
totally.
Untouchable.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Or when they parodied it in one of the Naked Gun movies.
Sure they
One of the
did.
naked, and there's like babies flying all over.
Yeah.
Don't they have like tons of babies?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
all these
And
others.
All of them. I think it was Naked Gun. I'm gonna say
I wanna
3
say it's
and
one of the third
33 and a third.
33 and a third.
Okay.
Isn't that the one that you watched recently, Colin?
I watched 2 and 3, I think, because I don't think I'd ever seen 33 and a third.
33, not a Zucker joint, a Peter Segal joint.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
so
as
not
good.
as funny.
You
Mr.
can
Tommy
tell.
Boy.
Yeah, the magic was not there.
All right, so what was your favorite part, Colin?
Well, I mean, obviously the lawnmower scene, but I think that's kind of a given for anything. And I think up to that point, you might be thinking, oh, the movie's not that gory or it's not that bloody, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, if you're singing that, you are a serial killer.
And then you get to that scene and it's just disgusting. It's amazing. And God, just the sound effects and just the fact that it keeps going and going and going. And like, it starts out as kind of blood and then progresses the more zombies that he cuts up into this sort of like sludgy, gross oatmeal type consistency.
So I've probably seen this movie a couple dozen times. It's funny to see like what is actually gross and what's not.
Yeah.
And what's gross is usually like things that are slimy and things that are also like thick. Like if blood is squeezed out of something.
It's always pus.
Yeah, and
shooting
pus,
out
like
of.
that's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other stuff is just really funny.
Are you guys zombie movie fans? Were you ever, April, where you're like, I love zombie movies?
No, I always kind of thought they were a little on the boring side. Like, I didn't grow up really watching, like, going out of my way to watch horror movies. And then I watched Dawn of the Dead, like the original, in film class. And I was like, it's okay. And then I remember my roommate was like, that was an hour and a half of people literally shooting zombies. And I was like, well, there's a little more to it than that, but
Yeah,
I
and
know,
you
it's
should have been
okay,
like, excuse me, unless you're watching the European cut, which is 88 minutes, it's a 2-hour long movie.
yeah, but you know, zombie movies in general didn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all.
They can be really good. This is a good example of one that is done much more creatively. You know?
I think that like horror fans, they like, and me included, like they love zombie films, especially when you're a teenager, because it's a way to destroy the human body in manners that you're not supposed to see, but that you don't feel any kind of like moral guilt over it because these things are already dead.
They're not human.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this is like usually when I think of zombie movies, it's kind of like something like The Walking Dead, where it's like post-apocalyptic. It's like after this outbreak and blah blah blah. But this is like a very self-contained movie.
Yeah.
and it just feels more inventive than that. So even though it is a zombie movie, the same way I guess like Evil Dead would be a zombie.
That's a little
movie.
more of like a demon movie.
Yeah,
possession
it's like
movie,
sort of
yeah.
possessed. This doesn't have that vibe that I dislike about zombie movies.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that, it sounds like what you don't like is that post-apocalyptic, like dreary,
It's just
kind of
dreary,
boring.
misery,
Yeah, I don't like that either.
dull. This is anything but dull. It's so exciting and interesting and
It's
fun.
weird that that's like the lesson people would take from like when they make zombie movies, and you want to
Yeah.
take them aside and be like, "What are your favorite like post-apocalyptic zombie movies? Like Day of the Dead, that takes place all in a mine. Dawn of the Dead, it takes place in a mall. It's not really post-apocalyptic."
That's the thing, and it's like they seem to be like an entry point for people getting into horror as far as like making the movies,
Yeah.
because it's cheap. You don't need to cast many people. You just get a small cast. You go out to the forest somewhere. You get like
You go up to the mall that's in Resident Evil Apocalypse to shoot your zombie scene.
Exactly.
Buy Teddy Bomb, available at teddybomb.com.
oh my god, that was what a shill.
Yeah, like I'm struggling to even think of a zombie movie I really liked.
No.
This is probably the best one. Yeah.
Thinking about it.
I'm thinking about it.
I can't
Actually, you know what?
think of any.
The one that I actually did like was Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, it's okay.
Which was
I
one of those
didn't
things.
love it though. I was just like, oh, it's okay.
I haven't revisited it, and it was like, oh, that was kind of like fun and scary and gross.
Well, Dawn of the
whatever.
Dead, 1978 is my favorite film of all time.
Okay.
But yeah, zombie films is like there's just so many bad ones.
Yeah,
it's
they
tough
just
to
don't-
remember the ones that I like. Plaga Zone, Zombie Mutante. That's like an Argentinian one, like that one.
There's just too many of them, and I'm sick of zombies.
Yeah.
If I never see another zombie movie again, I'd be perfectly
It's
happy.
weird because like I think the thing that I like the best about zombie movies is that kind of slapstick idea, which you get in stuff like even the original Dawn of the Dead or
Yeah.
this. And when you go into that post-apocalyptic like, oh, it's Walking Dead, it's miserable. I'm like, I don't want that. That's not what I find fun about it.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
no,
something.
thank you.
It's just
Yeah, I mean that's what Shaun of the Dead did so well.
Oh yeah, Shaun of the Dead That is a great zombie
I
movie.
mean,
Yeah, that was
I
clever.
do like that a lot, but I mean, it's more of a kind of a genre parody, but like it counts.
I thought you were
Yeah,
gonna
for
say,
sure.
Not really a zombie film.
No.
It's more of a psychological thriller.
Well, speaking of which, I liked that this wasn't just about zombies. It actually had layers to it. It's,
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
actually, like, for a second there, I thought that our hero was going to wake up and it was a nightmare because it's really about his fear of his mother.
Yeah, exactly.
And how, I mean, at the end, he kind of like returns to the womb.
Yeah, and is reborn.
Yeah.
The
so-
second time Peter Jackson's done that. In Bad Taste, he's reborn himself
Oh,
from one of the
okay.
aliens.
Speaking of which, Peter Jackson has a cameo in this movie.
Yeah, as a
briefly.
mortician's assistant.
Yeah, it's just really funny. And so does Richard Taylor. He's in the park as the stroller runs through this couple like picnicking in the park, and he's one of the guys who rolls out of the way.
Never noticed that until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
So you'll find something new every time you watch Dead Alive.
And Forrest J. Ackerman.
Yes.
He's the old man taking the picture at
Yeah.
the zoo as the mom is stomping on the
If
the
you notice,
rat
Forrest
monkey.
J. Ackerman, the film stock is different in his shots because they probably did not shoot it when they shot the other scenes,
okay,
and they went
okay.
and picked it up probably where he was living in L.A.
related to Chantal Ackerman.
Yes. Chantal Ackerman's father, Forrest J. Ackerman. No, he was the publisher of Famous Monsters in Filmland, which was a very famous magazine for basically like the first mega popular horror magazine.
I'm sure Peter Jackson was a huge fan.
Huge fan, yeah.
He was probably like just coming through New Zealand. He's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna get an unrelated shot of Forrest J. Ackerman in a period costume, taking a picture of something off screen, and then I'm gonna write a movie around it."
We will not like the guy who did. You ever hear a story about Mute Witness and Alec Guinness?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that Alec Guinness was like in a limo and he's like, "Let me shoot these few scenes. I'll give you $1,000." Alec goes, "Sure."
$1,000?
Something. It was not very
Yeah.
much. Yeah, and he built the movie around the scenes he was able to shoot.
No, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that's a lot, but it was just like, hey, can I shoot you for 5 minutes, or is he actually like shooting him for longer?
Well, I got to point out that Alec Guinness on Mute Witness is like front cover credited, even though he only
Yeah.
appears in like one scene.
Well,
so.
that's no good.
I think he was dead by the time it came out.
So yeah, he was because it's technically his final movie role.
Oh my god.
So what? Are you guys excited? You big Peter Jackson Hobbit fans?
No.
nope.
That's the movie we should have done for this podcast.
Ooh.
You know the Chick of the Bad movie.
I don't want to sit
all
through
three.
3.5 hours
I
of
know.
those.
Take out my extended editions.
Now you can see when you revisit this movie, and even comparing the Hobbit movies to the Lord of the Rings films, you can see such a decline in quality and sort of inventiveness. And he's gone to the Lucas side of like digital, and he's just using it for everything now. When you look back at this movie, it reminds you of how clever he was, and I feel like he has this love of practical and miniatures. And what has he created a monster, in Weta Digital, and he just got too obsessed.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a matter of like, was Dead Alive? He like did everything, and
Yeah.
he's like, usually people when they move away from something like this, it's like they did it with Dead Alive, and maybe he didn't feel like he was appreciated enough. That's often what happens. People are like, why did I do all this work if like nobody cares? Like maybe like one bad review was like, it looks so fake, and he's like, what's the point? Like I do all these miniatures and nobody cares.
I don't know, or maybe it's very difficult. Obviously,
Yeah,
when
Maybe
you have very
he
low
just found
budget.
he didn't have enough time to do everything himself, and things just went a different way. But the Lord of the Rings series remains as one of the more better achievements in filmmaking.
Sure, yeah, I
ever,
love the Lord
know?
of the Rings.
Those there's tons of miniatures in Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
And what happened? And even the one like
Why wouldn't he shoot miniatures?
I don't understand. And
Yeah.
even in The Hobbit, just the Hobbiton scenes look so fake
Well,
compared
48
to.
frames per second. Remember he shot it in that?
Well, it wasn't just that, but when you're looking at the skies, I'm like, God, the sky looks really fake. And obviously, it's like a digital composite. It's like, oh, I can tell in this scene that they're actually inside, and they've just done a green screen behind them. Even the skies look fake.
A
and it's
lot
just
of green
matte
screen.
paintings.
But
and
like, is it more expensive to shoot miniatures and matte paintings?
no, it's
Then
not.
why aren't they doing
because it's
it?
easier.
It's
Because
And you have
Yeah.
more control in
After the fact.
After the fact.
So probably so the studios can go in and change things, because they shoot it one way, it's shot.
It's not just studios; it's Peter Jackson
Yes.
himself. Because I mean, if we're talking about the Hobbit films, like Peter Jackson did not want to make those movies.
No.
Stuff happened behind the scenes
Yeah.
of that we will never know.
Well, it's supposed
No,
to be
we know.
Guillermo.
He
It was
didn't
supposed
wanna make them.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Guillermo del Toro, and Guillermo moved to New Zealand for years and years, and they were
Yeah.
writing the scripts together. And
he
then,
probably got fired by the studio.
No.
it was the studio just didn't want to like start the movie.
yeah, and
It
Guillermo
was
was
like a
like,
lawsuit.
Guillermo was like,
Yeah.
I've got a million other projects I could be working
In
on.
the Mountains of Madness, guys. Nobody wants to see that movie. Please don't make it.
Yeah, not a good script.
No, it's a real bad script.
So yeah, Guillermo basically just quit and said, "Look, I want to do all these other movies."
Yeah.
And then Peter Jackson was kind of stuck, and he's like,
He has like this, like basically a country.
depending on him.
Depending on him. And so he stepped in, and it was supposed to be 2 movies, and then it's turned into 3 while shooting the climax of the second
so
one.
bad.
You guys all know it's just a big mess, and they're bad movies.
There are tons of documentaries, and you can find online on YouTube about the making of this movie.
You can find them on the Blu-ray because like they're like 7 hours long. I remember this one scene where like Peter Jackson's directing from a tent. Like he's like the voice of God, and one of the actors is like, I can't fucking work like this.
Yeah.
Like I just can't do it. And he like storms off set.
Yeah,
It's all in there.
There's
all
a
in there.
great video essay by Lindsay Ellis where she
Yeah,
goes behind
3
the scenes.
parts.
I think it's like a 3-part.
Yeah, it's 3 parts,
part.
and she interviews one of the guys that plays one of the dwarves.
Yeah, and he kind of gives some insight on what happened behind the scenes, and it's so depressing.
You just wish Peter Jackson could be like, all right, like this monster can just, it's like a self perpetuating machine. Like I could just step back and like, can I go to my backyard and just like make a movie? And like
He keeps
just
saying
release-
he's going to, but I think
You
it's
know
like,
who else says that?
yeah, George Lucas.
And I don't want to see that movie.
I know, I'm going to go back to my experimental roots, but he keeps saying he's going to go. And, Lovely Bones was supposed to be one of those smaller movies that he was going to go
Just
back to.
ballooned out of control.
And then he starts adding effects, and it's like, oh, this fantasy world, and blah, 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 blah. And then
everyone
it just
hated
becomes
it.
this big effects movie. And it's just, he can't help himself.
Do you think he has no one like Peter, like no CG? Like there was no CG in Dead Alive. Do you
Yeah.
think he could do it? Like just figure it out.
Heavenly Creatures too. It does have.
It does
It has-
have
it has
CG.
some CG.
monsters. Oh, it has CG.
Yeah, there's like
I thought that
morphing
was all
effects and stuff.
practical.
No.
I haven't seen that since like I was a teenager.
That was the beginning of Weta Digital, actually.
Yeah. I just
but-
remember the stone people.
Yeah, it was like the
that was
chessboard, I think, or
practical.
something.
That was pretty cool.
I think there were just like some transitional effects or like morphing.
Yeah, and
stuff
like,
that.
I don't know, butterflies or something like that. But now he's sort of stepped back. He's doing like the producing role. He produced like Mortal Engines, which was directed by Christian Rivers, who is the head of
Storyboard.
Previs.
Yeah, Previs.
For all the Lord of the Rings movies and King Kong and stuff like that. So
King Kong.
I
yeah.
did not like King Kong.
I like King Kong, but it is the like Peter Jackson just like out of control.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want somebody to be like, no, like cut
trim
out.
it,
Is
yeah.
it Jamie Bell who's in that movie that you're like just cut his character out? Like it doesn't matter.
yeah, there's a lot of bloat and flab.
That's what I was saying. The more is more. That's like the ultimate example of just so much more.
You want to be like Peter. You got 90 minutes. That's it. Like give yourself limits, man.
Well, that's like he needs a challenge,
Yes.
and I just don't think he has that anymore because he can do anything. He can always just hand stuff off to Weta. They can fix it digitally or do whatever the hell they want. But
I was gonna say if that was made today, it would be 2 movies, but it actually kind of was Skull Island.
Yeah.
Like that's just like half
Yeah.
of the King Kong story.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, he like there was some inklings like he was going to direct the Tintin movie. Remember that? After
Yeah,
Spielberg?
that's right,
I
that's
really
right.
liked that movie.
I really like the Tintin movie. I don't think Peter Jackson's one is like it would have probably been too long, but maybe he could have been clever in ways that he can't be in these movies. He just needs to be practical. He needs to get his hands dirty again.
yeah,
Yeah.
He was going to do a Doctor Who episode. He even announced it. And then
Really?
he just didn't do it. Yeah. I think that would have been interesting for him because he would have had limitations that he does not
Yeah.
have with the Hobbit movies and stuff like that.
But there was even stuff like it was Thunderbirds, not the movie, but there was a TV remake of Thunderbirds, and then he had come out, and I know Weta had sort of gone the miniature route, so all the sets were done as Weta bigatures, I guess.
Yeah. Wait, they were going to make it, or did it get made?
Oh, they already did.
Oh.
So yeah, you can. I don't know where it aired or whatever. I've never seen it, but I think the characters are CG, but all the sort of like sets are whatever. But you can find a little funny test that Peter Jackson did as a pitch to the studio, and it was him, quote unquote, like remote controlling one of these little Thunderbird puppets, which was CG, and the
Yeah.
gag was like, he was trying to convince the studio that this was actually like a practical puppet.
Yeah.
And he was there like, look, I can get him to do like, backflips and all this sort of stuff.
If you see Peter Jackson like geeking out over stuff, he has everything he would ever want.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, I have the original 2001 Hal-Eye, and what do you get? Somebody who has everything. He's probably miserable. He probably wakes up in the morning. And
Every
he's like,
interview, I always see him on
Yeah.
like Adam Savage's like a tested channel on YouTube. He always looks miserable.
Yeah.
He just looks really sad and depressed, and like he's aged 50 years.
You know where Peter Jackson's really happy is on the DVD release of the original King Kong. There's like a very long documentary about them recreating the spider pit sequence.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
they did it for real,
Yeah.
using the technology they would have used at the time. And then he's like energized, and it's like, Peter, this is your intervention. I'm sure people have said this to him already.
Yeah, he should.
Or
You should
maybe nobody has, because he's too big.
I
All
don't
right, this is
know.
our mission. We're going to break into Peter Jackson's
Kidnap
New Zealand.
him.
Kidnap
him.
him. Make a movie. It's like a Cecil B. Demented.
Yeah,
but it's like
the Suicide Kings,
yeah,
but we
Peter
gotta
be crazy.
you got to get his mojo back, Peter.
Yeah. Get your mojo back.
Apparently, they're re-releasing Dead Alive.
Remastering it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, he says they have like working on 4K restorations of Meet the Feebles, Bad Taste.
So we just watched it on DVD. It's available on a standard def DVD that's out there, which wasn't that bad.
I think I bought it in like 95.
It didn't look that
or
bad.
something.
I thought it was fine. But also, apparently there's a Blu-ray release of it too at 1080. And Resident Evil Apocalypse is available everywhere. It's on Amazon Prime if you live in Canada.
Look at the dollar bin near your house. That's where all the Resident Evil films live. Right beside the other Toronto classic, the Saw films.
Yeah, go to your local
yeah.
landfill. You'll probably find like hundreds of thousands of them.
So, Justin, you did an episode on Important Cinema Club about Toronto movies. Did you mention Resident Evil Apocalypse?
No, because we only talked about movies where their stories take place in Toronto.
You
Okay.
can tell I haven't listened to it yet.
Raccoon City, come on.
Raccoon City.
Raccoon City.
So if you live in Canada, guys, don't forget to vote.
Yeah, big vote coming up this month. And if you want to email us, we're at no such thing as a bad movie at gmail.com, and we're on Twitter at no such thing pod. And also, I just did a guest host on This Film Is Lit, which just came out a couple days ago. So if you want to listen to me and Brian and Katie talk about Holes, Shia LaBeouf movie, and the book, you can check that out, and it's available everywhere.
You can check me out every week on the Important Cinema Club, and this month is Shocktober.
Oh, which reminds me, we have to start watching horror movies.
Yeah, well,
Do you guys do a horror movie every day?
We started.
don't make it every day.
no,
but we
no.
try like a couple a week.
Yeah, we started
Yeah.
last year, and we're sort of going through the Friday the 13th franchise, and like, who knows?
I was going to say, do you pick like a series each?
Not
Well, I
necessarily
want to
each
watch
year?
Nightmare on Elm Street this year because I've only seen the
scary.
first one.
I want to watch Ghoulies now.
There's a bunch that I have been meaning to get to.
Yeah, there's
for
4
sure.
ghoulies.
So many ghoulies.
In the second one, they go to a fair.
Oh my
And the fourth one, the ghoulies aren't actually in it. It's a
stakes-
name-only sequel.
The stakes have never been higher.
I don't know if you've seen the amazing GIF, the ghoulies giving each other a high five.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic.
That's from 2.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA, and I think my Instagram as well.
We also, sorry,
I
go
don't
ahead.
post on Instagram as much.
We also have a Patreon, and we did another bonus episode with
Jim Maxwell.
And we talked about John Travolta.
You guys mentioned my name. It's me, Jim Maxwell.
Wait a minute. You're not Jim.
John Travolta's The Fanatic.
You mean Fred Durst's The Fanatic?
Right.
What? Devin Sawa was the fanatic.
Girl from Degrassi's Fanatic.
She's in it, yeah.
Zoe Rivas. Anyway, that's coming out. I know nobody knows this actually except me.
Next Friday.
I mean, Colin doesn't even know who Devin Sawa is.
I've never seen him in any movie, and we discussed this on the podcast.
But yeah, episodes every 2 weeks, bonus episodes on every other week if you're part of the Patreon. And tune in this month for more spooky movies. I'm April Mansky.
you couldn't figure out a scary name?
I can't think of one.
Colin, I could see
I'm
his
thinking,
eyes.
yeah, it's like I can feel like the gears turning in my head.
I'm Justin Donnie Darko DeClue.
Oh my God.
The spookiest of movies.
I'm Colin X.
April Southland Tales at Mansky.
I mean, that makes no sense. You just put Southland Tales in the middle of your name.
You did it with Donnie Darko.
Yeah, because my last name starts with D.
I'll
it's a
think of it.
clue.
How about April? Oh no, I'm gonna say E.T., but that's not a scary movie.
He's a giant turd.
It's got
All
Peter
right.
Coyote in it.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.
Peter Coyote.
I don't know. He's kind of a scary guy. He's intimidating.